All right, so we're ready to rock and roll. Any questions before we get started? Everybody on here is an LMSW, right? Well, you know, future LMSW, we're speaking that future.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
Let's speak it. Let's speak it.
Yes. Speaking into existence.
Absolutely, absolutely.
In the right direction, and I applaud you for your efforts.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And just to kind of start out with why I'm doing this training. So what I've noticed is that pretty much the LMSWs, it's a different kind of experience that you've had up until this point when it comes to preparing for this exam. Some people are you've never been in supervision likely, because you normally start supervision when you're starting your process for LCSW. You might have been in school a while ago, or maybe you just finished and wasn't really sure like how to take this exam. It's standardized, what to expect, what to do, and you don't really have that official training where, for instance, those that I do supervision with, I meet with them consistently. We're meeting every week. We're going over concepts. We're talking about stuff. They're asking me about ethical dilemmas. We're staffing cases. You know, they have a lot of experience in the process as they prepare for their exam. So the LCSW is a little bit more, I would say, experienced when it comes to taking this exam because they kind of know what to expect. So that's pretty much why I'm doing this training. I have a lot of people that I do private tutoring with, or they're in my course, or they're doing something. And when they're successful at completing the course, completing the coaching sessions, private tutoring, whatever it is, they are doing exceptionally well. So they are passing, but I do notice those that are not passing is by a mere few points. And what I can see is pretty much just the thought process, how they look into things, how they're reading into the question, how they're understanding a question, and what the question is actually asking of them. So this is a mini training. It's not about content. You guys know if you're in my boot camp, some of you have registered for it, some of you have already completed. It's heavy content based. I'm hitting human development, ethics, assessment, clinical interventions. Like we're just pounding in content. So you're like, you know, it's content overload to make sure you have everything you need to know before taking the exam. Then we do have a day where we do strategy. This is more so like building your confidence, what it really looks like when you're taking this LMSW exam. What are they asking for? What are they looking for? How are the questions structured? This is pretty much what this training is about, to give you a little bit more insight. It is also the reason I'm doing this training, because a lot of people who have did the boot camp, the LMSWs needed a little bit more in that area, and I was just unable to do it because the boot camp's already 12 hours. There's no way I could have added on extra time in that capacity. So what I've decided is to build this training and kind of start from here. I do have a PowerPoint. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to be going through some information for you guys to review at about 7, like 6:45, 7. So about maybe another 30 to 45 minutes. We'll have some of my LMSWs that I supervise that are licensed. One's a LCSW and a LMSW, and the other one's a LMSW. She just passed maybe, I don't know, maybe like less than 6 months ago, but now she's in supervision for her LCSW. So I just wanted you guys to have an opportunity to pick their brains, to kind of ask them some questions that maybe you're worried about, curious about. Both of them were one and done. They took the test first time, passed on the first shot. So they didn't have anything that they need. They're not repeat test takers. So they don't understand that struggle, which in some regards can be challenging for those if you have friends or coworkers or people that you know that have taken this test and they're like, oh, it's easy, just go in there and, you know, we've been doing this for years and do this and da-da-da, and then they pass on the first shot, and then you're like, wait a minute, it's not as easy as I thought. And then you struggled or didn't pass. So that's why I wanted them to come on board, just to give a different perspective. I'm more sensitive to the ones that have not passed on the first shot, because that was my story, missing it by 1 point and, you know, getting my mind right and retesting. In this case, these, like I said, both of these young ladies are recent. One got her, I think she took her LCSW exam once too. So one of the young ladies, she took the LMS and the LC, passed it both on the first time. And then the other young lady, she took the LMSW. She did exceptionally well on that. So they'll be able to break it down, explain it, because there is a difference in how the tests are structured. So we're going to jump in, and I'm just going to start sharing my screen so you guys can see that. And whatever I don't get to, because when they join, I'm going to stop, because I know one of them does outpatient with me, and she has some clients and stuff that she's seeing this evening. So she's seeing us in between her clients. So I'll just stop, pause, and then I will get back to the presentation. Those of you that have to jump off, I had this training allotted for 2 hours, but I was thinking I can do it in 90 minutes. So that's why I didn't put a time frame on it. If you have to jump off, it is recorded. So what I'll do is likely create like a LMSW strategy channel or something in the community. I know, guys, those in the boot camp and the coaching community, another tab, just bear with me. But it's just easy to have it over there so I can post the video there, and not for everyone to see it, because it's not for everyone. You guys invested in something, so I want to make sure you guys get what you came for. So it isn't something I'm going to open up for everyone. So you can see it, and it'll probably post later down the line. All right, so any questions before I'm sharing my screen? Any questions, anything off beginning? beginning. I do want to start out, if you guys all have access to your chat feature on there. I know some of you might be driving, some of you might be yelling at your kids or doing dishes or trying to get dinner together, or actually at work with the earpiece in your head and talking to a client in the other. I don't know. Y'all might gotta, social workers, we're the kings and queens of multitasking. So I am asking for your full attention to focus. The more you focus, the more you'll get out of this training. But if you are doing something else, just go back and watch the recording. But first, I want to start out, if you don't mind, if you can just drop in the chat feature, just tell us like your test date, when you're testing. If you want to share that you're a retester, you can, but that's not what this is about. This is a no judgment zone, so it doesn't matter if that's the case or not. But whatever you want to share, just a little bit about yourself, maybe the state you're in and when you're testing. You don't have to give exact dates. I know we're all strict about that. You can just say what, yes. Okay. Stephanie started out. She put the date, but if you don't want to, just put the month. And you guys can go in there and look and just kind of see, because you guys are in the community and it's a lot of LMSW study groups. I will say that. So for those of you that don't know that, there are a lot of LMSW test takers that are forming study groups in the actual community. So I know at least 2 or 3 of them that are going on. So if you're interested in that, just kind of go through all the 875 million. It might be the 871, and then you can see where the people are talking about the coaching and so forth. All right.
While you're doing that, I do have one question.
Go ahead.
Okay. One of the questions, now this is not exactly the way it were on the test, but it was insinuating on which one comes first, the alcohol disorder or mental health. It was something in that issue. And so.
Okay. Well, we might not have time to go over. I have questions and things that I'm giving you guys myself, so I might not have time. Okay. I know everyone brings me questions. I swear, I think people think that I work for ASW and I got those answers. So I don't know if I know the answer, but I'm going to use the same approach and strategy that I tell you guys to use. And I think I'm understanding the question and what you're saying, but when you guys bring questions, if you guys can have a little bit more context, because that question can be changed or asked in so many different ways. I'm thinking you're asking what is treated first, the alcoholism or the mental health, but I would need to know is the person using alcohol because of the mental health issue? Is the person self-medicating because they're depressed, or is the person already an alcoholic now because of it? So I would need to know more context. So at the end of the training, when I open it up for questions, so people who don't want to know or care, they can jump off, and then I can kind of help you with that. If you can find it.
That'll work. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
No problem. Let me check really quickly something. There is still hope. Can you tell me your name, please? That's fine, Dominique. Okay. There is still hope, I think, that joined. Can you tell me your name? Because I didn't okay, I got you, Brittany. You're retesting on there. All right. Last time, there's still hope. Somebody came in with that name, and I'm not familiar with this. So I'm just trying to ask before we get started. If you can just tell me your name. All right. I guess they don't want to share. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. And all right, so the LMSW strategy and confidence boost. This is pretty much what this test is for. I have some people on this call right now that are testing pretty much this week and next week. And July is a heavy month. I swear, so many people testing in July. July is a heavy test taking month. I thought May was like that in June, but it just seems each month is just like more intense with people who are, testing, as Tiffany just shared that she's testing this month as well. So I wanted to kind of do this for you guys. You guys, at this point, if you were testing this month, you should know a lot. You should have the content down pat. You should pretty much know stages of development. You should know different diagnoses. You should know some stuff about research and community and all the other trillion things that are on the exam. However, now's the time to really lock in a strategy or a way that you're going to go into this exam and you're going to tackle these questions. You can't just go in there saying, I know everything, I studied, I finished this course, I'm ready. It's way more to it than that. So that is why I want you guys to really hone in on developing a strategy. I'll offer some, but if it's some that you've been using and it's working for you in the test, by all means, do not change the game. This is just something to enhance and help you for where you are. All right. So real quick, you guys already put in the chat where you are testing. I asked you guys to drop your test date. So you did that. I appreciate it. I'm all about affirming ourselves. Really, really big on affirmation. So you don't have to say this out loud. You can say it whenever you want, but you need to speak to yourself each and every day that you are prepared, you're focused, and you are ready. That is that simple. Every morning, whether it's on a note card, I have vision boards over here. I have pictures of my grandma, my 5-year-old self, like my why, and behind me, I have stuff all day reminding me of who I am, how I got to where I'm at, and just the motivation to keep going. So that is what I'm recommending you guys do. And in the process of doing that, also affirm yourself. That is a must. You have to let yourself know that you know the information and you're prepared and you're ready for what is coming, which is to pass this test. All right, some quick breathing stuff. A lot of you guys are share with me or come on, or I meet you on calls, or I see you in the community and you're messaging me like, oh my God, I'm testing and I'm so nervous. That's one of the first things I get. You have to learn how to calm yourself. You have to do some grounding techniques. You have to do some deep breathing techniques. Whatever it is going to help you get centered and focused so you can stay on track and do what you came to do. So many people are all over the place when it comes to preparing for the test, and that is something that can add extra stress. It's already a lot of stuff you need to know. The last thing you need to do is not have a technique on calming yourself or being able to stay focused. Some of you guys are taking anxiety medication for the exam. Perfect. If that's something you're doing, just don't wait and take it the day before, because I've had some people say it's made them extremely sleepy and they wasn't expecting it, so they couldn't use it for exam day. So you might want to try something like that a few weeks out if that is your intent, to try it right before the test. All right, so real quick, the LMSW exam snapshot, just for you guys, most of you should know this, but it's 170 questions, 150 are scored and 20 are unscored. There's a time limit, so there's a new format. You have that 85 questions up front, and then you have a 10-minute break, and then you have 85 questions. So that is pretty much how the test is broken down and how it is expected for you to do. So some people, if you've met with me and that stays the same, if we do private tutoring, I tell you to take a break around 45, 50 questions in, very much halfway through that halfway mark. All right, passing scores between 90 and 107 to get correct. So pretty much like 100, 105. Most of you that retest it, you'll say, I got an 86 and I needed a 96 to pass or something along those lines. Normally, I don't hear with the LMSW you need over 100 points. However, I would strive to get at least 100, 105 because you're in a safe zone there. I don't believe in just trying to be right where you need to be. We want to kind of make sure that we've covered our ground and we're pretty comfortable and we solidify that win when it comes to taking this test. All right, a guessing rule. There's no penalty for wrong or unanswered questions. So this is something that a lot of people might not be privy to, but when you're taking a test, you get points based on how many questions you get right. So if you're sitting there looking at a question and you're like, oh my God, this is so hard, I don't know, I've never seen this before, you're wasting time. Just don't focus on it. Go to the next question and keep it moving, because you're not going to, or take an educated guess. Definitely don't leave it blank. Take an educated guess because you're giving yourself a 50-50 chance of gaining some extra points in that area. All right. And let's see what the LMSW exam actually wants. So this is a little different compared to, and I think you have a question, Anthony, but remember, if you can ask the questions at the end or remind me at the end, because I'm going through slides and I can't keep going back in the chat feature. So, all right. What the LMSW exam is actually wants. It wants you to recognize needs. It wants you to assess appropriately, and it wants you to intervene within your scope. So remember, when you're taking this exam, you need to be taking this exam as if you are a licensed MSW. That is how you need to go in there. Like, I'm a licensed MSW, and this is how I'm taking this exam. It's not expecting you to be an LCSW, where you have the clinical knowledge to diagnose, that's your expertise, you're doing differentials and all that stuff. It just wants to make sure you're knowledgeable enough so you know how to answer it within your scope. So please keep that in mind. When you're taking this test, you have to remind yourself that, okay, yes, I'm taking this test to become licensed, but they're asking me questions as if I'm already a licensed mental health professional and I know this stuff. I've prepared for this stuff. Because why would they care about what you know on a master level? They want to make sure you know what to do when you're licensed as a master level professional. So please keep that part in mind. You want to prioritize clearly in action planning, but remember, you're not doing any therapy. That's not what you guys are doing. And you want to respect systems. You want to understand, like, what does it look like if you're working in a school, if you're working in housing, you're doing policy, all of these things. So what I need for my LMSWs to do is to have a mindset shift. Don't think like a clinician. Think like you're a generalist in the master social work level, and you have a strategy. So you have enough information and you're competent with all things master level social work, but not that clinical piece. So just kind of keep that in the vibe. All right. The role. So generalist game plan. Basically, you want to be empowerment based. A lot of the questions you want to ask is empowerment based. What's the least restrictive or most ethical? So when you're doing a test question and it asks you something, it's always the most least restrictive. You don't go and do something that's highly restrictive and then start working your way down. You start here and build your way up when you're working with clients. So if you have an intervention, or if it's suggesting that you do something like, what should you do first, or what is the most effective or the most appropriate, or what is the best, however the question is answered, you're going to start out with the least restrictive and build your way up. Does anybody have any questions or don't understand what that means, that context means? Everyone got it? All right, perfect. So also systems oriented. You want to look at macro and meso, like thinking is fair game. You want to understand that there's different things you do at a macro level that you do at a micro level and that you do at a meso level. So you want to have an understanding of that. If you want to deep dive in these things, this is stuff that you take, you invest in courses, content, content, test prep books, YouTube videos. There's tons of stuff. I know I did a video personally on the micro, macro, and meso, and broke it down and gave some terms, and there's even a cheat sheet inside of the community. So make sure that you guys are getting the content so you understand how to apply it and what to do. All right, you also want to understand when it comes to referral, you want to know when to refer, when it's something legal, when it's something psychiatric, when it's something medical. We don't want to do anything outside of our scope. So if we're meeting with a client and clearly they have some medical symptoms going on, we want to refer them to get to meet with a medical professional. Because clearly that's not our job to diagnose and say, oh, this person has this, or it seems like they have this. And it could look like a mental health issue, but we want to rule out that there's no physical stuff going on. So that's when we would refer out. Also, if it's anything like psychiatric, you can deal with that. It just depends on to a certain degree, because remember, you're in a generalist role. So a psychiatric intervention or way that you might refer out, is if you're meeting with a client and the client is presenting with psychosis, they share that they, want to do harm to themselves, they haven't been taking their medication, has all this stuff, and it's like, whoa, we will want to refer them to maybe have an involuntary hospitalization or voluntary hospitalization, however it's worded in the question, but it's not somebody that we would treat. Clearly, it's out of our scope when they're in that psychiatric mental status where they need some extra support and assistance. All right. The other one is no diagnosis, no treatment plan. And that is a boundary. You do not treat clients before you assess. And then you don't intervene before you have decided the treatment plan or the process and how you're going to go about treating them. So this is just a way of thinking about it. If you have a test question, it kind of aligns with the first, next, best, most method. If you have a client and you're working with them and they come in and you're doing the assessment, before you jump in, if the question options say that you're completing a biopsychosocial or something along those lines, and maybe the option choices are asking you, should you provide CBT techniques, or should you blah, blah, blah. We don't just jump into interventions right after we assess. We want to kind of understand, explore a little bit more what's going on with the client. And then we also want to see what's going on with them so we can treat them appropriately. We can say, yes, do CBT, but what is their diagnosis? What are we treating them for before we jump in and intervene? So it's just a mindset thing when you're looking at these test questions, that you have to stay focused so you don't jump over here before you address what's here. And I did see some questions in the comment section. Once I get through a few more slides, I'll take a break and then let you guys answer. I'm asking me the questions again, so I don't have to go back in there. All right, so top 5 LMSW exam mistakes. People study like a clinical test prep person. Somebody's taking the LCSW exam. I do know that's a big one. And that is why I'm also sharing this training, because most of my course is built content-based, very heavily content-based. And although LMSW and LCSW have to know the same content, LMSWs don't have to know as much of certain content areas. So that is why this training, and I do have some, your girl got your cheat codes and all that stuff at the end that I'll provide to you, that's going to show you exactly what sections to hone in on. And those that take my course that are LMSWs, if you go through all of it, you're good. But there are also some things that you really want to focus on. I have knowledge of, so that's why I have these sheets. So if you're looking through it, you can say, okay, I don't need to focus on this section or this section in the course, but I do need to focus on this section. It's kind of like a roadmap. Skipping ethics, an absolute mistake. Ethics is 25% of you guys' tests. It's 19% for the LCSW, but 25%, that is 1/4 of the exam. It's no getting around ethics, no getting around it. And those of you that are planning to test this year, finish and test this year, because next year the test will be changing. I'm not going to go into too much depth, because I know there's videos out there. I did one, and pretty much every test prep person has did one, but they're changing to 3 categories. So that ethics section is likely to probably be 33% of the exam. So you really want to make sure you know ethics, and you really want to make sure you pass this year too, so you don't have to worry about the changes coming in 2026. All right. Guessing blindly instead of using process of elimination. So the way the test is built down is that you don't see as many 4-question options. There's about 65% of the test is still 4-question options, but they're moving into the 3-question options. So right now, about 35 to 40%, give or take, is 3-question options. The reason the ASWB wants to move to the 3-question options, because they want you guys to not use the process of elimination. If you have 3 options, they figure you have to really think between those 3, versus if it's 4, is 1 that you automatically throw out, 2 that might be questionable, and then 1 is absolutely the answer. So the way they're doing it now is they want to kind of alleviate people who are just doing a lot of educating guessing and not really knowing the information. So that's smart on their behalf, because they want to make sure that they don't have a lot of social workers that are not competent and they're just passing the test by just knowing how to use process of elimination. elimination. They want to make sure you really know a thing. So don't go in there guessing blindly. Right now, with the 4-question option, you can use the process of elimination, but I like to look at it more of like an educated guess. Like you're educated enough to look at the option choices and decide which ones clearly are not it and which ones could be it. And that's when you get to those reasoning and application style questions where you're like, oh man, it could be this one, but oh man, it could be that one. And learning how to differentiate between the 2 option choices. All right. Another common mistake is overreading into questions and adding information. I think everyone is infamous for that. We get a test question and we're reading into it and we start adding that the person's married with 3 kids at home and they lost their job. And the question doesn't even have that. We just add in stuff based on what they gave us. It's not our job to add any additional information. Our job is just to read the question. And if you find yourself adding other things or stuff that you've done at work or something that someone told you and another test prep question that you got from this program and this program, I have people who come and they give me 15 questions for 15 different programs. And like, can you help me understand this? I don't like answering, going over other people's test questions. So that is part of it. If you guys are in the community, ask me that. I don't want to be rude and I don't want to be standoffish, but I'm just standing by my product and what I provide. So I don't really like when people give me questions from other programs and ask me to dissect and break it down, because that's that person's process and their thought process and how they did it. So I try not to mix the two. I will help, but most of the time I try to stick with the questions that I generate and have. All right. And another thing.
I have a question. So
okay, one second. It's a few people ahead of you too. I said, just give me 1 second until we get through the slide. And there's a few people in front of you that had their hand raised too. So I don't want to be rude and just answer yours. But this last part, waiting too long to practice full-time exams. This is a huge mistake. So many people are taking a test, and hopefully there's not a lot of you on this call, but if you are, then, talk to me about it. If you're taking this test and you have not taken a full 170 question test, you are setting yourself up. It's kind of like, I always use sports analogies and I really know nothing about sports, but I know LeBron and Michael Jordan, all these people are really good, Kobe, like these people are great at their. And I can tell you one thing, they absolutely did not just say, hey, I'm going to go in here and try to make these free throws and see what happens. They practiced what they did. And that's why they perfected their craft. And they were really good at what they did because they went in there prepared. And that is what doing a practice test is going to do. If you go in there prepared, you will absolutely know what to expect, what type of questions, what the questions look like, how long it takes you on a question, whether your anxiety gets really high when you get a first, next, or best, or most type question. Like, you'll have all of that. So those are the things that you want to know and you want to kind of make sure you prepare for. So that is absolute must, guys. Taking a full practice question. All right. So think like the test. What's the test writer looking for? What would ASWB want a new LMSW to do first? That's how you need to ask yourself. What would they want us to do first? What answer is least risky, most professional, and most ethical? So a lot of you guys are here and you hear some of the stuff I'm saying, but it might not be registering or doesn't make sense. You guys got to make it make sense, because this is literally what you have to do when you walk into the test. So if you're not on the call or doing something else, just hear me out. Just pause, stop doing whatever you're doing and just hear this out. The answer has to be the least risky, the most professional, and the most ethical when you're answering it. That is how you have to tackle this question. Some of the answers are like, oh my goodness, I know I would do that. As many times I do questions and it's something I would do and it is something else I would do. And I have to differentiate which one is the most ethical, which one is the most professional, which one is the least risky that's going to give me the best result ultimate. Those are the things you need to ask yourself when you're doing it. All right. And you also want to assume the client's cooperative. So a lot of times we have a test question and we start thinking like, well, maybe they're mandated client, or maybe they really don't want to participate. We don't want to add to the question. If the client is not cooperative, the question will tell you that. Then you would act and assume accordingly. And you also want to always assume that we've got full consent to work with a client and we're not just working with them without the full consent. So you have to know that. All right, there's some content areas. So the ASWB Master Exam for 2025, this is pretty much the percentage of the exam that you're looking at and taking. Pretty much, I like how the LMSW exam is broken down, because it's very, very consistent across the board. Like, it's pretty much, you can roughly say 25% in each section, realistic. You have the 27%, 24, 24, and 25. So if you're taking the questions and you're looking through them, you're likely going to have between 35 and 40 questions for each content area. So it's not something that you just want to focus on one area and not the other. You want to make sure you know it all, because that's pretty much how it's set up. All right, so we're going to run through some cool questions. I know a few people had their hand raised, but I did share that somebody's joining us. So I want to be mindful of their time when they join. I am reimbursing them them for their time and coming up here, but I do want to make sure that I'm mindful of that because they do have some other things to do and they decided to do this to help you guys out. So we're going to answer these few questions while we're waiting for them to come on, and then I have some other stuff that we'll tackle and touch on. And if they're not up here yet, then I can go ahead and answer the questions for you guys that had your hand raised. All right, so go ahead. Anybody want to read this one?
I'll read it. A client with terminal cancer confides in the social worker about using unapproved medical cannabis, which is illegal in their state. What is the most appropriate action?
All right, thanks for reading that, Trudy. Does anybody have any option choice that just pops out? So you don't have to say the answer yet. Just automatically when you see this question is most appropriate. So most of you to know when you're looking at a most question, what are we looking at? Because maybe you'll do all of these. So what is it's a most question? So what do you do?
Highest priority, safety.
Okay. So what are you thinking? What are you, Lucilia? You're shaking your head. So what are you thinking for this question?
So it's basically bring in mind that if it's a most question, we want to do the most ethical. Okay. You said not to say the answer right. Okay.
No. You can say it. I have a few more. I said you can go ahead. You were shaking your head, so I said you can go ahead. You just in my where I can see everybody. I'm gonna pull my screen up so I can pick on some other folks, but you right here in front of me, so I'll pick you.
I think it's B, educate the client about potential legal and health risks.
Okay, all right. We got Dr. Luke and Everett and some other people in the chat putting their answers in there, and everybody is saying B, like it's just a no-brainer. And what the reason, the questions here are a little bit easier than the questions that I have for us to do later. But I do want you guys to understand too that it doesn't matter really how challenging a test question is, or how long a question is, or how short it is, or where it's coming from. The way you tackle a question is the way you tackle it. So you always want to have a strategy. Even though this is a simple question, you guys are able to look at it and know automatically. You should still have a strategy that you're using, because if you practice your strategy, you're going to use it for each and every question. You're just going to be like, okay, this is my strategy. It's just quick to move through it. So by all means, I'm curious to hear some of you guys' strategy and to kind of help some of you guys that don't have one develop it, because that is absolutely important. All right, so answer B. All right, let's do number 2. Can somebody read number 2 for us?
I'll read it. A 16-year-old uses to attend school and spend hours staring in the mirror, obsessed about small flaws. What should the school social worker do first?
All right. Anybody have something that's popping up? Anybody else? Some new folks that I haven't heard from yet. Let me hear where you at and what your thought process is.
It's Cassandra. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so my thought process, because it's using the word first, and with the first, from what I'm learning from you, it's pretty much start with an assessment first. And so kind of, I think B, explore possible.
And the C should be home. The last part should be home. I'm gonna go in and edit that. So you're saying the answer should be, is the answer, Cassandra, you saying C or B?
If I'm gathering information to do the assessment, am I gonna explore? So B.
Okay, so you're not 100. Somebody else. We got to have 100% solid here. Like my answer is this. So Jillian, what is the answer?
Yeah,
Tell us.
B. My answer is B. My answer is B. Yeah.
I said my. Okay. My first concern was B because of body image and always looking in the mirror, obsession with small flaws. So that would be my first choice. I actually had a question like that on the exam.
So let me ask you, it's a developmental red flag for BDD. Can somebody tell me what BDD stands for?
Is it dysmorphia?
Yep, body dysmorphia disorder. Yep, you got it. Body dysmorphic disorder, dysmorphia disorder. Yes, but you're correct. All right. And it's not a whole lot of questions. So go ahead. We got like 1 or 2 more in this section before we move forward. So this is assessment, 24%. So let's see. Somebody want to read this and answer it?
I'll read it.
Who have not. Let me see if I get some. Who? Kiana? You said that? Kiana?
Yep.
Go ahead.
A teacher reports that a 7-year-old has become aggressive and withdrawn. The social worker should first A, refer to a child psychiatrist, B, conduct a psychosocial assessment, or C, meet with the parent. I say B, conduct a psychosocial assessment first, because you need the assessment to know if it's
Okay. All right. And the last easy question for you guys. Let me see. I'm gonna call on Everett or Bassie for this one. One can read it, one can answer it.
Did you say Bassie?
Bassie, yes.
Hello, everyone. A single mother is overwhelmed by childcare demands and has no local family. What's the best intervention? A, help her enroll in a parenting class. B, recommend therapy for her child. C, explore natural support systems in the area. Okay. Did you say somebody else should answer?
I said someone else, but if you know it, if you feel like you have it, Ken.
So the best intervention for this mother, explore natural support systems in the area. That is my answer.
That is your answer, and you're sticking with it. Anybody else have anything else they want to add or change?
No, I'm sticking with my answer.
You're sticking with your answer. All right. So you said what else did you guys pick? I think a few people picked C, a few people picked B. Some people said recommend therapy for her child. Someone else said explore natural support systems in the area. So anyone else thinking? Well, it's quite a few people. Everett, Dr. Luke, did y'all all say C B, or did y'all say C?
I said C.
Oh, okay. You said C. Okay, because it's showing B for y'all, but I guess it's showing maybe it's old answers. Okay, never mind, because it's all lumped together. I see y'all. You said C. All right. So I am going to pause and kind of answer some of you guys' questions. I did have Deanie who joined us. She's an LMSW, someone that is one and done. So I wanted you guys to have an opportunity to ask her a few questions. She has a shorter time frame on here with us because she does have some clients that she's seeing in for outpatient. So I don't want to take up too much of her time, but we are going to pick back up with this once we finish. Stop sharing. So yes, any questions? I know some of you guys were asking me questions anyway, so she might be able to assist with answering some of those questions, and then I'll ask specific questions for those, because I know a lot of people on this call, Deanie, just to give you some background, are testing this week and next week and the week after. So we got a lot of July test takers. I know you're most recent. I told them that you were one and done. You studied, you did your thing for studying, but you were like, look, I overstudied. I knew too much stuff. So I want you to kind of share with them some of the things. I have questions, just kind of your experience, maybe your study routine. And then I'm gonna open it up too to see if they have specific questions for you. So we'll start out with the questions you guys have for her or for me that you had, and maybe she can help me answer them, just because we know she's on a really tight time frame. So whoever had, I think Anthony had a question, Trudy had a question. It was a few of you that had questions. So it might have been about the slides, but you can ask now and we can see if we can tie it into where we're at.
Can I go first?
Go ahead.
Yes, about eliminating the answers. How would I go about doing that? I don't want to continuously second guess. I want to, stick to the elimination process that works best for me.
Is that for me or Ariza?
Oh, that's for you. That's for you.
Oh, okay.
These are all your questions.
Oh, okay. Got you. So for me, the way the test is set up is very interesting. Some of them are 3 questions. Some of them are 4, which gives you, when you are eliminating, that easier chance of getting the answer right. But I would say always go with your first gut answer, but you want to look at what the question says specifically, like best, most, like those key words, and then try to distance yourself from, depending on where you are in social work or how long you've been, working in the field, from what you might do at work versus like what a textbook would want you to do. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
And then, you can flag questions on a test too, like, and go back. So if it's really down to the wire, I would say don't spend too much time on it. Pick the one you're gonna pick, flag it, and then you can revisit it back at the end.
Okay. Is there an option on the exam to do that?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. I gotta look on that when I go on in November.
Nina Cox raised hand.
Yes, ma'am. Hi. I was just wondering if you could just tell me how did you study? What kind of pattern did you use to study?
To be honest, one of the things that really helped me with studying, I don't know which you are, millennial, Gen Z or whatever, but if you did Hooked on Phonics or Reading Eggs or any of those things we did when we was younger, where you read the story and then it's like that really helped me take out a lot of the anxiety from the test. Because if you can do those, if you can do regions, if you can do all those and you pass and you got out of high school, then you can do this test. So I really focused on that mentally, for the mental part, because you want to be able to be calm when you're taking the test, right? And so make it not as threatening mentally. But in terms of things I studied, really there was a lot of process. What would you do if this happened? What would you do if a child said this? Or if you was in a school setting? I would say I focused a lot of attention on that. I did make sure that I was well versed in the other things like disorders, because I feel like those questions are like sprinkled, but there was a lot of process, a lot of what would you do, a lot of what would you do first? What would you do next? What would be the best thing to do? And so focusing on process, and again, back to that whole textbook thing, I think, and Ariza could probably attest to this as well. Sometimes we've been doing it a long time, or, we've kind of learned it a certain way, but the test is looking for very specific answers based on textbook kind of sort of processes. I hope that helps.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else have any questions?
Jillian.
Yeah, I think my thing is I second guess myself a lot. Like I keep missing it out of by 2 points or like how do I not second guess though. That's my concern.
I say go with your gut, read the question at least twice, because sometimes if you're anything like me, I'm like, oh, I got it. And I rush through the question and I missed the keyword and it's wrong. And I realized that when I was doing studying that, you know, I got to the point where I started reading the questions really fast and I was missing keywords and making it wrong, or second guessing, you know, those decisions because I was reading it so fast and I wasn't taking. So what I would say is what I did was, one, the first thing I did when I came inside the test was I wrote down things that I would forget. They give you like a little pad and a little marker or whatever, but you probably ready for that. And I wrote down a few things that I thought would kind of help me. And so I made sure I read every question twice and I thought about exactly what it was asking me. And I honestly used that little notepad to write down little things from the question so that I knew exactly what it was asking me. But after once you read it twice, I say go with your gut answer. If you really need to do, hopefully it's a 3 versus a 4. But if you really need to, you know, then you start doing process of elimination.
Yeah, because what I do is take the answer and then I go back. I put it, flag it, and then I go back and change the answer. That's my issue.
Don't flag a bunch. I realized that I've taken, this is probably like my 4th standardized test as an adult, from insurance to social work. And I try not to flag over a certain amount of questions because, one, you don't want to stay too long because you run out of time. And that timer, you know, at the same time, don't focus on the timer. You just know going in, you don't want to time each question because it is a timed exam. But I would say, don't flag too many questions. If you know for a fact, you read it twice and that was the answer, that's the answer. Don't go back. Don't flag that one because you already know the answer. You already put it down.
Okay. And I normally say don't flag anymore. I tell those not to flag any more than 10 questions in the first 85 and 10 questions for the last 85. They throw out 20. Worst case scenario, the ones that you're flagging are the ones they're going to throw out. But even in the process of flagging, answer it first before you flag. Just in the event you don't get to go back. You still want to make sure you've answered the question. So you're not just throwing points. Remember, you're not graded from losing points, but you want to make sure you answering as many as possible so you can gain more points.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions? Any other questions or thoughts? I know she has like 2 more minutes, so I didn't know if anybody else had another question to ask or anything. That is that. So, oh, that's your back. Anybody else have any questions? Anything? Because she jumps off. I know Shaniqua, you had your meeting off. I didn't know if you had a question for her real quick.
Yeah, I just want to ask, hi, how you doing? Would you say that 2 to 3 months is definitely enough time, and that's it? I mean, I know depending on myself and how I study, but 2 to 3 months.
Well, Dina, you didn't give 2 to 3 months, so you can't tell. You gave us a solid 30 days and went hard, like 30 days and went hard on it, not overdoing it, not underdoing it. But yeah, I know for a fact it was like 30 days because I remember when she actually studying and getting ready to start supervision, because she was signing up in the state of Virginia. You don't have to be an LMSW to start, so she was signing up for supervision for me, but telling me she was testing for Maryland. So she was in the process of studying and talking about like what she studying. She actually joined the community in the YouTube channel, but that's when I had just started, when she was getting ready to test. So she was taking bits and pieces, you know, kind of picking each other brain in that process. But I didn't do a full 90 days. I would say 90 days is a max. Some of you guys are spreading out 6 months, 9 months. Yeah. To me, that's time to get lost in all the information. You need to be structured. Hey, I got 90 days to give this all I got. I got 60 days. I got 30 days, and really hone in. So even when someone doesn't pass or they're like less than 10 points, I'm like, sign the waiver, like sign it ASAP and test now. Like, don't wait and push things back unless you're just really not sure about what's stopping you. And you really got to kind of come up with a plan or a way to kind of figure out what you're doing wrong so you can pass the exam. That's different. If you've taken the test and now you're really trying to strategize, like, where do I go wrong? But even with that, you don't want to give it a lot of time because you've already studied. You've already invested a lot of time and energy. To me, it's information overload. Like, I have a few people that's testing this week and they've been messaging me, and their anxiety is through the roof. And I'm like, let's breathe. Like, I don't even know why we're looking at material today or tomorrow, because to me, it puts you in a really crazy space when you start studying the day before, the night before the exam. You're always going to find something you don't know. And why do you want to spike the anxiety up by realizing, oh my God, I thought I studied that. I thought I knew. And then you don't know it. And then you start panicking and restudying more material. It's just not worth it. I would just say scale back on that, the amount of time. So anywhere between 30 and 90 days is probably like the max. I think some people just feel like studying for a long period of time is going to make them be more prepared. Right. I haven't seen that be successful. I've seen a lot of people wait 6 months, a year, the retest, and then still don't pass the test after all that time. And that's stressful to have waited that long, and then your expiration and time is running out and all that other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know how many I had kids, or when you was younger and you was about to take your exam and your mom be like, get up, eat breakfast. So I'm like, get up, be prepared. You know, if you're a coffee person, make sure you have your coffee, get your breakfast. Like, let it be that morning, be a chill experience. Like, I got there like 20 minutes before because I was able to take my time and take it slow, which made me not go into that. Like, because if you late and you know, your cortisol is on 10 and all that stuff like that. So just make it a real soft morning, to be honest with you.
And I say take the test too. When is your time? Like some of you are morning people. I'm an early person, so I early in the morning taking it. Some people are evening or afternoon people, and they need to have a whole routine and get up. You know, if that's the case, then that could be it. But you want to make sure that you're not overdoing it. So those are the things you want to kind of consider. Go ahead, Anthony. I think this is the last question because I know she has to jump on, unless you're looking at the app to see if your client joined or not, Deanie.
Oh,
but
you're good. It's storming, so you got me for a little bit longer.
Okay. Go ahead, Anthony.
So actually, I'm going to be honest and transparent. I'm actually still in today because since I discovered Miss Ariza, like I got more confidence. I have my L. In Indiana, it's just an LSW. It's not an LM. So, but I really appreciate everything that's said. My question earlier was for you, Miss Ariza. When you talked about it, the test now is like 100 to 107-ish. Before it used to be like 94 to 105. And the lower the number, the harder the test.
That's still the same. I just gave a rough estimate. So yeah, it's pretty much the same amount. I just said if you want to score between 100 and 105, that's like guaranteeing you're passing the test versus just passing by the skin of your teeth with 96 points or 95, or I just made it. It's okay to just make it when it's all said and done, but you don't want to barely make it by the skin of your teeth. So I always request that if you're taking a practice exam, you want to be scoring in the mid 70s. I like for those that I tutor that in my courses is be scoring like 75% and up. Like I don't really, when people are like, oh, I got a 70, I got a 72. I did this test with this program and I passed and passing is okay, but you got to understand you're taking the test in the privacy of your own home. You don't have no stressors surrounding you. You might have kids or noise or something like that, but it's still, you can pause and yell or get up and go to the bathroom or take a drink of water or somebody text you like, oh my goodness, let me pause this and take a phone call. It's still totally different. You're more in a relaxed state at your home than you are in the exam center. So you want to account for being in the exam center, falling short, your anxiety high, and maybe making some careless mistakes that you ordinarily wouldn't have made if you weren't so anxious. So that's why I say you want to aim for higher percentile when you're taking practice tests and so forth.
I'm sorry, I hate doing this, but this is about what you just said. Is that okay?
That's fine. I don't know.
Okay, so it's Anthony again. I'm sorry. So when you say 115, 117, is that based off the 150 or based off the 170?
Well, it's only 150 that's graded. That never changes. That hasn't changed since the test.
But when we at home taking practice tests, like, because I'm finna buy one of yours, and so will your grade be based off the 150 or the one? Will it take the 20 points off? Is what I'm basically asking. And I won't bother you no more. I promise.
No, I don't know what you mean. Say that again. Does it take the 20 points off?
Yeah. So some practice tests you can get for 170 questions. They're just gonna grade it. They're not gonna take that 20 weighted questions.
Yeah, but whatever practice test you're taking should tell you how it's weighted or what percentage of stuff you got. But normally 20%, most practice tests are still going to have the 170. 20 is thrown out. So you could still just factor in 100, how many you got right out of 150, if that's the easiest way for you to calculate it.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot.
I don't know if that makes sense or you guys understand what he's asking or got it. No? I mean, yes, you did. Okay. All right. Any other questions before we move on to another part? All right. So we're going to jump in and finish. I do appreciate your time, Deanie. If they ask any other questions that need your help, I just make sure I shoot you a text message or email and then I'll answer it for them in the community. But I appreciate you taking time to join us.
No problem. Good luck, everybody. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. So let's see. I think most questions was answered. I'm gonna go ahead back and start sharing my screen. If it's something that pops up and you're like, oh my goodness, I have a question about that, just feel free to ask. So the 10 must know. So what I'm going to be covering next is just information for you to have and know, like, hey, I'm studying. I feel like I'm ready for this exam. This is kind of your checklist to say, okay, this is what I know. This is what I don't know, and so forth. All right. So these are the 10 must knows for the LMSW exam. You got to know the helping process. You have to know to prioritize safety first. You want to memorize as much of the different code of ethics, not the whole code of ethics. That's like memorizing the Bible, but scriptures here and there. Same thing with the code of ethics. You want to know what self-determination is. You want to know confidentiality. You want to know dual relationships. You want to know those key terms that are likely to show up on these test prep questions. You want to master certain theories, that Piaget, Erickson, systems theory. Those are popular ones that you're likely to see on some exam question. Understand the difference between cultural competence and cultural humility. You always want to assess before you act. I said that all throughout the training, so please keep that in mind. You usually want to assess and understand or explore and gather all this information before you actually act and proceed and decide how you're going to help this client out. You want to know common referrals, like when do you refer to a psychiatrist, when you refer to CPS, when you refer to APS. You want to know these information. Don't overthink it. Stick to the facts. I have a lot of people who do the stem first. They read the stem of the question, which is normally the last sentence or two, and then they get an understanding of what the question is asking them, and then they read the whole question. and then go and answer it. So having some type of strategy or some way that you do a thing so you don't overthink it. And then, of course, timing yourself. You want to make sure that you have some type of simulate the 2-part exam. I think the way I have it set up for my 170 is 85 questions first, and then you have a second 85 questions first. So you can time yourself for the first 85 and then take a break, and you might say, you know what? I did really good. I took them 85 questions in an hour and a half. I'm pretty good with timing myself. I think I'm going to take the other 85 later on in the week or later on to see where I'm at. You can do that when you're doing a practice test, but you definitely want to practice and see how you're doing with timing yourself on the exam. All right, we talked about using process elimination. Basically, you just don't want to leave anything blank. Always answer it. Doing these consistently will give you a higher score each and every time. It's the simple things, guys, that come to bite us in the butt when it comes to this exam. When people get out the exam, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe I missed it by 5 points. And they had a question about this, and I thought this, and people are remembering all this stuff. And half of the time, when you guys are coming out the test exam, I think it's not funny, it's kind of funny, but when you guys are coming out of the test exam, everyone remembers the question. Like, I had a question and it said this, and I don't know if I got it right or not. Like, we don't know if you got it right or not because the test doesn't tell us. So we don't know, but we can kind of process that question, what it was asking, and what was likely to answer based on how the question was answered. Because very seldom you're going to remember exactly what the question said. It might be a word or something that you forgot, or the option choices, you remember 2 out of the 4. So you want to, when it's fresh on your mind, that's a good thing to have, but it's 170 questions, guys. So there's no way you're going to remember everything when you get out that test site to know how to answer it. I do have like some essential concepts. This I cut and paste from a cheat sheet guide that I'm going to give you, but it's basically, I'm not even going to spend time going through this part because I actually just going to show you the sheet that I'm going to give you guys afterwards. It'll be easier just to show you that, and we will go from there. These sheets are the last thing I'm going to go over, but you guys are actually getting a copy of these sheets, and then I have a 15-question quiz really quick that I want you guys to take. So let me do that. Is everybody, I know a lot of you on the call, you might be doing other stuff. Is everybody able to take the quiz if I throw it in the chat, or some of you unable to take it where you are?
Yes.
You're okay. All right. I'll do that, and then I'll share with you guys the cheat sheets. Or do you guys feel like you want to know the cheat sheets and see them before you take the quiz? What's your thought? This is really just assess probably where you are now, and then you could always use the cheat sheets after. That's my thought. But if you want to go over the cheat sheets first and the quiz later, is you guys show what would be easiest.
Can we do after?
Let's
just take the quiz.
Oh, y'all want to do the quiz after? Okay. I didn't know when somebody said after. And if you, I apologize. Some of you have been trying to join, and I have been booting you out because I don't see your name on the list as registered, but you were adamant about coming in, so I added you in late. So you can stay on the call afterwards because this was a paid training. So I just want to make sure everybody was up here that got it, because I am going to provide the quiz and the cheat sheets and all the other stuff. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. But I just want to let some people know, because some people have been messaging me, and I apologize because they signed up maybe under their spouse's name or under someone else's name and it didn't register, so I wasn't letting them in. So that could be a disconnect. I apologize if that's anybody on here or if somebody's watching the recording and cursing me out, but you will get the recording. So I'm going to drop the quiz. I'm getting ready to put it in the chat feature. So does everybody know where the chat box is? And I'm not saying that'd be funny. Some people might not be able to find it on their computer or not sure where it's at. I'm just getting the link so I can copy it. All right, and it's 15 questions. I'm really adamant about the time, like the 90-second rule, but these questions are really quick. Well, I'm not gonna say that. They're kind of long, some of them, but I do have on here, I'm gonna share my screen, and then I'm gonna give you guys the link just so you guys can see what we're doing here. All right, so when you guys take this quiz, this is how it looks. Make sure I don't have the answer showing. So you can see they're a little bit lengthy a little bit lengthy, and you're going to answer. It's going to let you know right afterwards the rationale. So right here, 12 to 15, if you get 12 out of 15, you're pretty much right on track. 13 out of 15, you're pretty much on fire. 14 out of 15, your test day ready. 15 out of 15, are you LMSW ready? Because I know some of you are going to ask, what's my score? What did I get? Where I'm at? How many is this? What is this? So I put it up here. So if you guys want to, you'll see it when you take the quiz, but I just wanted to let you guys know. And I'll get a copy of your quiz and see everybody's results anyway, but I just wanted to kind of give you an idea if you're trying to figure out. If 11 out of 15, so if you miss 4, you had a 73%. You're just right there at a passing score. So that is pretty much how this is going to be that and graded. And I can tell when everybody's done because I'm gonna get alerts and I'll be at the scores. So I'm just gonna let you guys take about 10, 15 minutes top. The link is inside of the chat section. So if you guys can go to the chat section and start, I'll know when everybody is pretty much getting done and wrapping up with the answers. And then we'll kind of go over some that you have challenges with, or go over any questions. Then we'll jump into those cheats or little study guide thing, and then we'll wrap up. All right, there you guys go. I'm gonna mute so you guys can go ahead and take the quiz.
A few moments later.
All right, guys. So how are you guys feeling? Those that completed it, thoughts, feelings, concerns? I know everybody was able to see their results, so we don't really have to go over any rationales because it was very detailed rationale. So I expect you guys to read the rationales. That's why I did it that way. So you won't say, I have a question. Number C said, this one C said that the rationale tells you exactly what it is. I'm only going to repeat what the rationale says. So just for time's sake, just read the question, go through the rationales to really understand the thing. This test was a mixture. So if you didn't do as well on it, it's fine. Some of those concepts are really hard, but I can tell who's really studying and who's preparing themselves and actually using materials and kind of doing those things. So you can tell where you're at. It's just gauging where you are. Again, it's better to kind of have an idea of where you are than to struggle. And a lot of you are saying second guess yourself, and people are asking you how to help them stop second guessing themselves. And the verdict is still out on that. That I think I know a lot, but that I don't know how to tell you to stop second guessing yourself, because that is something you're going to have to practice, because there's no reason, if you know, studies show, and everybody, it doesn't matter who test prep program, who video you watch, they all say the same thing. Go with your gut and go with your first choice, and you're still going the opposite direction. I don't know how to grab you and bring you back over here. I literally don't. I really don't. I've been thinking of it, trying to figure out something, but I cannot. That is something, that is a individual thing that you have to learn to start trusting yourself. That's it. Some of you are asking people in the community, like, how do you stop second guessing? Like, no one can tell you how to stop second guessing yourself. Like, there's a reason you're second guessing yourself and you're doubting what you know. And that's more of an internal self thing than it is a test prep kind of thing, which is nothing wrong with that. As good as you have self-awareness and but you really got to figure out using some techniques. It might sound cliche or a little too direct, but therapy, all of those things kind of help you when you're doubting yourself. That's pretty much what that is. It's a self-doubt thing that you want to work through and work on. And trust me, some of you are just honest about it, but I would say about 75% of people who take the test, they second guess themselves and they have that self-doubt, but it's rooted from someplace else, not just because of the test. You probably do that in a lot of other aspects of your life. So we just want to get to the root cause of why you constantly second guess yourself when studies show that you've been right. For instance, someone on here said they second guessed themselves. They've been pretty open and shared it, so it's not like I'm calling them out. But on the test, they actually scored like the high. Well, actually, I take that back. I'm gonna have to give the shout outs to the people who scored the highest. But they scored like in the top 3. Cynthia, and I know I have your husband's name that you registered for, so I don't have let me pull this up to pull the names up. Let me just do it. I'm not sit here and be making up names and stuff. Let me just look at y'all faces and pull up this list here on the side so I can say your actual name. Let's see. Oh, Victoria and Cynthia scored 13 out of 15. So they did exceptionally well there. And they did the darn thing with their scores. So they scored a 13 out of 15, which is exciting because, Cynthia's in the course. So I remember she always says she second guesses herself, but she kills it when it comes to these complex questions and stuff. So I'm excited. And actually, she's probably like 90% through the course. So she's really made it far. However, we have, let's see, let me look at this. I see somebody smiling because they got 13 out of 15, but I think I killed it with the 14 out of 15. Who got 14 out of 15? I seen them smiling on the call. Who got a 14? Nobody know? Y'all don't know y'all scores? Yes, Brittany. I saw you smiling the whole time. You're like, look, I'm killing this. I know this stuff. So kudos to Brittany, guys. She got a 14 out of 15, so almost a perfect score in this quiz, and it was not an easy quiz. So definitely kudos to her. So we got a few 13 out of 15s and a few, and that was a 14 out of 15. So those were our top performers. If you fell anywhere else in the chain, it's fine. That's perfectly fine. It's okay. This is not the real test. This is not grading you per se. A lot of you got in that 12-point range, 12 out of 15, which is still great. So if you were 13 out of 15, 12 out of 15, even 11 out of 15, you still were in the passing score, which a lot of you were in that range, that 11 out of 15. Quite a few people got 11 out of 15. And then it was a lot that were under like at 9. It was that 9 and 10 were probably heavy populated in that area too. So overall, really good, guys. This gives you a context, some idea of some ASWB style questions when it comes to LMSW. That's a little bit more challenging and trickier. Don't think too much in your head. A lot of these questions, though, I was hoping you would take educated guesses and trust your gut, because you didn't know the term or you didn't know it, but you knew the other one. So I always tell you don't have to know everything. If it has 4 defense mechanisms, and I'm throwing 5 questions out there, but it has 4 defense mechanisms, 2 out of the 4, but you really know what sublimation is, and you really know what rationalization is, but you're not sure about projection and displacement, and the question is asking you something. If you really know the other 2, you know if that's right or not. If it's not, rule it out. Now you're stuck between the 2. Then you have to really think about the words and what it means. Displacement, projection. Like then you're going to play on words, because if you do that, that'll help you with a lot of answers too when you're unsure of it, looking at the root word or what it means and all that kind of stuff. So good job on that, guys. I'm going to go ahead and jump in. It's 7:37. I'm not going to hold you guys up here longer. If you guys have to jump off, I understand it'll be recorded. Just want to kind of give you guys a taste of some things that are likely on the exam, some stuff that you should know, study, and prepare for. And let's see. This is I like to call it the LMSW Ultimate Cheat Code, because this pretty much gives you everything LMSW related that you guys would need to focus and have. So this is what I'm going to provide to you guys. Once I check off everybody who's in attendance and participated, I'm going to put you guys in a little community tab. So that way you can get a copy of this, and you can also get a copy of the recording. Once I check off, I did take a roll, and of course I have the video to watch it back and stuff to see who showed up and stuff, so I can add you in there. And then those that couldn't. So you'll have access to this, but I just want to show you really quickly everything you need to know, nothing you don't. So it has the must know core 10. It has the helping process, ethics, safety comes first, assessment basics, systems theory, Maslow's, and intervention matching. So this is all a copy of what you're going to get. Some common psych meds that you should know, antipsychotics, and then understanding some cultural competence stuff, which you're going to see a lot on the exam as it pertains to that. My test strategy formula that I teach and I practice and I talk about a lot in the community courses, coaching, all that stuff is my first, next, best, most method. And that's pretty much how you think when you're taking the exam. As you know, Deanie also shared, there's a lot of first, next, best, most questions. So this is something that I created over the last few months. So it is something that I kind of teach and go over a lot in the boot camp and other aspects of like individual coaching and stuff like that. So it does kind of teach you what to do when you see a first question, the next question, the best question, or most question. It just gives you a way to think and process things. All right. Then I also have a question decoder for you guys, how to think like the exam. So knowing when to prioritize safety questions, how not to jump into action, eliminate these first choices. If it says that, then you know you eliminate it. You don't do that if that's in the first question. Understanding the stages, the role of an LMSW. And then of course, I know people love those buzzwords. So I gave you some buzzwords in here to kind of use and know. And last but not least, this is what that is. So these are the buzzwords, like stuff that you would hear with his mental health clues, like sad, tearful, hopeless, you're thinking of depression. Disorganized speech delusions, you're thinking of schizophrenia or psychotic disorder. So these are just little cheats that when you hear the word, you know, like, okay, that's what I need to focus on. And the reason I'm doing this because I don't want you guys studying too much. I just want you studying what you need to know. I love this. Object permanence. I'll talk about that when I go through the stages of development with PHA. So some of you that was in a boot camp, remember I use the example of peekaboo, like you see me now, you don't, you see me now, you don't. And kids love that. That the buzzword would be peekaboo. If you saw a question that asked that, you know, you're dealing with object permanence. So you just want to kind of learn something keywords so you'll know what it looks like when you're actually taking the exam. Ethics, must know these ethical principles. Self-determination, informed consent, dual relationship, and limits of confidentiality. You need to understand what it looks like in a test question and what does it actually mean according to the NASW. More cultural competence, more intervention techniques, and then just some other social work lingo that you might hear, like evidence-based, empowerment, strength-based, multidisciplinary team. You guys have seen that all over the place, and there's lots of questions on that. So this is pretty much in a nutshell, just some things that I felt that would be key things that you need to know and actually utilize when you're taking your LMSW exam. So I will share this with you as well as the video. And we are at 7:41. So I'm going to open up the floor for any questions. Anybody have any questions, any thoughts, concerns, anything you want to ask me you're not sure about? This is the opportunity to do so. Nina?
I was just wondering, like, how soon are we going?
Well,
you're going to post that? I know it's going to be like a couple of days or something.
Yep, next month, probably August. I'll get to it August.
No, you're not going to do it no next month.
Let me go in the chat and see when y'all testing, because I was sitting there getting anxiety thinking about the coaching community, how y'all waiting for last Sunday and the Sunday before last, and I had the boot camp and they were waiting. It was just like, so you know, I'm a one-woman show. So I've had people help me, but y'all was scaring them off when they did a coaching call and stuff. They was scared to come back. I'm hoping Deanie can help out.
Give us mercy.
I had one person, she was supposed to show up and she's like, how many people up there? I'm like, it's just 19. She's like, oh Lord, that's too much. I'm like, what do you mean it's too much? I told you, join it. Y'all are scaring my people. They don't even want to jump up there. They're like, I'm like, what are they gonna do? They, you know.